going on, guys? It is your boy Cash, and I am here today to fix my mic. I'm here today first to go over these notes, the hero balances that are going to be dropping in September 5th. I just noticed that they existed, so I want to go over them. But why am I in this screen? It's because I wanted to do something cool where I at least do all my 10 summons on video. So I'll try to release a video every day in some way, shape, or form, talking about something. And also in those videos, we'll have the 10 free summons available. So let's see what we get. All right, so booty, butt, oh no, no cheeks, no cheeks, ladies and gentlemen, no cheeks. What do we got here? Oh, it had the 5-star paws in there, but it was a 4-star artifact, which I feel like I got most of them, so that's not gonna be bad. Adamant shield, cool. Like, the excitement of doing covenants are like definitely a little bit, like, you get a little bit of the antsiness, right? Because it could just be a moonlight, you know, nat 4 and nat 5 now. It's not just, you know, the standard stuff that you're used to. See, boom, like, I don't know what this is. It's just shiny. And it's cool. It could be great. It could be nothing. It could be something. It could be 4-star hero. It could be a 4-star moonlight. Who knows? And it happens to be Arbonne, which, funny enough, she is in these updates. So we will be talking about her very soon. I'm surprised they gave her a buff because she wasn't really mentioned in there. So got some cool stuff. Nothing too crazy there. Unfortunately, I still think Arbonne is better, so I might give that to her to max out the memory imprint, or maybe I won't. Let's see. Let's go into these patch notes. All right, so here we are. This is the first lovely patch notes. So these are all the hero balances that they talked about, and there are a couple in here that they did not. I feel like they just didn't mention it. So the first one on the chopping block is going to be Lilibet, and they're going to be changing the Snip Snip and the Soul Color. They pretty much talked about this from before. So Snip Snip is going to be the S2. Now they're adding the fact that the caster's combat readiness increases by 50% now when the S2 is used. And they're also bringing up the damage by 50% comparison to before. Now, what this is going to allow you to do, depending on the actual combat readiness of the match, like if you can see that she might be able to get another turn, you can maybe S2 and then S3 for a more reliable nuke on the S3. You could do that. A lot of people were building their Lilibet so the S3 was killing anyway, and I think it still had the soul burn, so you know, not too much of a problem there. But they're also changing the S3 as well, so now it grants the caster skill nullifier, which they can still be stunned, but they will not take any damage. So you can put debuffs on them, but they won't take any damage, allowing her to, you know, be a little bit safe for one turn. And then they're also increasing the damage. So for people that were able to kill with the S3, now they're definitely going to be able to kill with the S3. They might not even need to soul burn it or anything like that, so that's going to be pretty cool. As far as a buff goes, I do think this is cool. I do think that a way to maybe spread the buff. I mean, there were so many suggestions as far as like making it an actual debuff. The extinction was an actual debuff. Like, she leaves a wound on you that if you happen to die before it heals or goes off of you or is cleansed, then you are extinct, which I think would have been a cooler way of doing it, to allow her like to work with the team a little bit. And then maybe once it actually goes away, it lowers the cooldown of the S3, which is a lot more complex. But this way of them doing it, just making sure that it actually has a little bit more hitting power, and then the S2 has more hitting power, as they mentioned here. I'm not reading all these because they're whatever, but they do mention that they wanted her to be a more reliable DPS unit, not just, well, I'm done with my S3, I'll see you guys in a few turns. So they made this a little bit stronger so she could use it reliably and throw it out there for good damage. It still has the ability to make bleeds. Now she's getting combat readiness over it, which is going to give her more turns, which is going to effectively lower the cooldown of Soul Cutter. So I'm all aboard. Next up is going to be Lidica. I remember I was like, I don't know what they're going to do to her because it's kind of weird. So her S2 is now going to have the ability to dispel one buff, and it seems that the dispel one buff is coming after the hit chance. And I'm saying that because that's obviously really important. If there's immunity there, you would want it to strip the buff first and then put the hit chance, which I'm surprised they didn't do that. So I think that that would have been the proper way of doing it. It comes afterwards, so hopefully there's no immunity there, so the hit chance thing can land. And they're saying 100% chance. I think that is actually when it's max Molagord. I think everything here is max Molagord, by the way. That's how they're talking about it. Next up, Public Execution, which is the S3, attacks with the enemy with the, why am I reading that part? So pretty much all that happens here is that they're adding that, making them unable to heal afterwards. So they're gonna lose their turn by losing 100% combat readiness. They're gonna get their speed decreased, which is gonna make it harder for them to get their turn back, and then they also can't heal. So this is a way to just slightly nullify the abilities for you to rescue the enemy, to rescue the unit that is there. So I think that's pretty cool. Also, I think since she is fire, and this will actually allow her to go into the golem hunt and make him unable to heal. Anyway, we're gonna go to the next guy, which is Besar. Besar got some spicy buffs, some little spicy buffs. I don't think he necessarily needed, but I'll take him because I just summoned him maybe a few weeks ago. So his S1 now is gonna have the chance to inflict a random debuff, and they made sure to note that the 75% chance to transfer a debuff on the caster happens first to the enemy, see, before inflicting a random debuff. So that's gonna happen, and then after that you'll put a random debuff. I don't know if they mentioned to do this, so like the debuff can't be the same as the one transferred. I'm assuming that's why they did it. So let's say Besar was defense broken, you transfer the defense break onto him, and then you can't then redo it. So now it would be defense break and then an attack break on top of that. I think that's why they made it that way. So it's not completely random. You can manipulate the RNG if that's what they're saying, which would be cool. Next up, the Hurricane, the S2, is now, instead of just hit chance decrease, it's also going to decrease attack, which means if you get hit with this, you're doing doo-doo damage. 75% chance to do it. And they also remove the soul burn effect, and then they smacked it onto the S3, which if you look down there, remember it dispels all the buffs, makes them unable to buff, and now is also going to decrease their combat readiness. And for 20 souls, which is great because he is a mage, so he can hold on to the artifact that gives souls, he can now ignore effective resistance. So what this means here is that now you can run him super fast, pretty much just like Litica right above him. Run him super fast, high effectiveness, and he's gonna S3, pull you back, take off any buffs you may have, make sure you can't get a buff, and then on top of that, maybe he'll somehow get another turn and then even put more debuffs on you. Or depending on the situation, you can go first and just put the S2 on, lower their hit chance, lower their attack right from the jump. So these two options now are really, really good. Before, the hit chance thing is okay. The reason why it's like okay, it's just not the best, because it's just a, I think it's 50%. So like if they still hit you, they're still gonna hit you hard. Now it doesn't matter if they hit you. It's not going to do much damage, and then if it especially misses, then it's doing really nothing to you. So this is really, really good. It makes him a solid debuffer. Next up is Yuffie. Yuffie is going to be up to the chopping block. Not really the chopping block, I guess it's the blessing block there. She's up to the blessing block. They're going to be changing her S2, the Dragon's Roar, so that one is going to do a little bit more damage. It's still going to have the dispels one buff, 85% chance to silence. Oh, sorry, that is changed too. The 50% chance to silence here, and then now it's going up to 85% chance to silence. So the silence is more consistent and still gives her attack and a speed buff, and it's gonna do more damage to everyone, which is cool. Now this one, I was confused looking at this for like 8 years. I was like, what did they change here? I don't understand. So Dragon's Charge, stun for 1 turn and then dispelled, and then they're saying here that it dispels first and then stuns. I felt as though this worked that way because I know, not that I know, but I kind of remembered every time I would get fight a Yuffie, you don't fight her that often, but that she would strip all my buffs and then I would get stunned. It could just be the animation. Now they're reassuring us that that is how it's going to work. So it does not matter if you have immunity, but I could have swore she was stripping the buffs and then stunning, even if I had immunity up. But that's a nice little change, obviously, to make her more consistent as a threat. And also what this does, very important to note, that if it does work like this, if there is a defense buff or anything to mitigate damage, I actually would love to know how that works with crit chance down, like the Dian's buff. Like, how does that work? Does it strip it first and then initiate the damage? Or does the crit chance down there first makes a decision, like in the computers, the mathematical calculator, and then does that? I would love to know that. I obviously would have no idea. I mean, because look, the damage dealt is increased by 50% if the enemy is buffed. So I'm assuming that it checks if there is a buff, calculates that first, so then it would, wait, does that mean the defense thing I just mentioned? Now that has to be tested. If you have a Yuffie when this patch comes out, please come back to this video, or maybe we'll discuss it because I haven't done a guide on her, so let me know, because that's actually very curious. Does the defense buff count towards the damage before beforehand. I mean, that's probably why damage dealt is increased by 50% in case there's a defense buff there. But I have no proof of that. I don't have the character, and I would have to test that. I would have to ask someone to test that. So that's gonna be interesting. Next up is Yuna. One of the ones I was super kind of hyped about when I was reading it. And you guys tell me if you think the Yuna engine is online. Let me know. Hashtag Yuna engine online if you think that this buff is gonna make her more usable. I don't really care, but I want to now use her just because this is cool. So the first thing that they added is that on top of her getting combat readiness, 6% per target, right? That's why Yuna sometimes like gets a bunch of turns when there's a lot of enemies, right? You're like, why does she keep going? Secondly, it also increases the combat readiness of everyone except herself. Obviously, she's getting 6% per target, and now everybody else is getting 2%. That is just cool. Now she's already a ranger, so you can get the Rose Hardener, you can get her to dual attack a lot, and I feel like you might be able to get like a little turn cycling thing going on here. Now 2%, obviously the highest amount of characters that you're gonna fight in a regular situation. I think the only time you can fight more is like in certain abyss levels, and in like what would be like the fire spirit avatar. Definitely not avatar, it's definitely altar, but but yeah, then they'll have all those little turtles, right? And then you can like super farm it up, but who cares? You can do a spirit altar like without really trying. So it's really cool that at least that you're gonna get 2% for each. I'm assuming this is M Maximal Agora. So boom, you get a nice little boost up of 8% to everyone, which is small, but like I said, if you're looking at it from her dual attacking a lot, and I'm, you know me with a counter, but yeah, just dual attacking. I'm not gonna be that stupid. As stupid as I want to be. Next up is gonna be that the S2 finally grants 2 focus. I actually always thought that it did, and then I read her a while ago and I was like, oh, it only gives 1? That's kind of crap. Because she needs to get her super mega laser off, right? Also, they're lowering the cooldown by 1, which is great. With all this combat readiness pushing around, it's great that, you know, she can cycle her turns, and now she can possibly S2 again and then S3, you know, if she needs to, because I honestly feel like her as a dual attacker is a lot better than her just actually taking a turn to S1. So that's that. And last but not least, the S3 change. Now it's the same thing as far as everything else, except when hit, it always results in a critical hit. So what that actually opens up for, now you could be super greedy, super greedy, and run her on crit damage if you want to, because her S3 will always nuke. But we also know that she needs 5 focus in order for it to go off. So think about it, you got the S2, now you have 2. She maybe dual attacks once, you know, in the hoping, so she takes a turn, she dual attacks somewhere in the mix, now she's at 3. She gets another turn, she has at 4, and then she would need another dual attack. So it's a little bit iffy as far as like going for crit damage a lot. And the reason why I'm saying that is because you're gimping out on attack when you do that. It'd be very interesting to see it, because her S3, if I'm not mistaken, does not have a cooldown. So the more you can manipulate it for it to trigger, the more often that you can use it. And I don't remember what YouTuber is. If you guys can say it, you know, that's fine. I love to give praise to those that I look up to and stuff like that. I don't remember, because they're like a channel that definitely loves Yuna, has a fully built Yuna. I can't wait to I definitely subscribe to him, so when he pops up, I'm gonna be looking for that video, because I'm pretty sure he's gonna make a video about PvE content that he's able to clear even quicker, because he already clears it with Yuna. Next up is regular Araminta, one of my favorite characters. If she's ever on a banner, I'm gonna like drop everything, all my sky stones and everything is gone. I love this character, she just looks so cool. I really love her design. The catalyst, which I think is her S2, damage increased, they're just letting you know the damage is increasing. Fire pillar, which is the S3, is now going to have a chance to stun, which is very strange to do this. It pretty much makes like Araminta, like MLM Araminta, like not as unique, because that was ML Araminta's thing. I think they should have gave her something a little bit different, you know, like maybe just increase this combat readiness so she can S3 and then come right back with the S2 a little bit to make her slightly more different. But they made it that they're kind of now the same. So now Araminta has a chance to stun, 50% chance, not like an automatic way of stunning, and then it makes ML Araminta not seem as unique. Moonlight characters to their counterparts don't really play exactly the same. That's why it's the Moonlight version. I mean, obviously it's a buff, it makes her stronger. She has a stun, she has an AoE stun. I think that they could have done this a little bit better, like maybe like explode the burns, like if there's burns already, like it explodes them, like kind of like a detonation kind of thing. or something of that nature or something. I don't know. I think that there could have been ways to make her very more unique and not like her Moonlight version. Next up, Assassin Koli, who has been getting changes on changes, and I feel like she has like some of the most green text that we've seen so far. Ambush is the S1. I was trying to figure out what it was when like I'm looking at this text and I'm like, what is this? And look what they're doing to it. Okay, so Ambush deals additional damage if stealth, grants the caster attack speed, just speed. It's just speed in this game. So you get a speed buff now, kind of like Sid, but Sid needed to crit, I think, to get it. Damage that also scales up the speed. They also increase the damage in general. Damage at stealth state is also increased as well. So just making her S1 hit harder. They're also taking the murder. I can't wait to do a guide on her because the way that she talks she's like demented almost, like she's like a serial killer. It's nuts, which she probably is. But the cooldown is going down by 1, and before it was 5 turns, now it's 4 turns, because that's what, you know, minusing 1 does from 5. Anyway, so that's just making her a little bit stronger on S1, making her a more reliable source as a DPS. I don't think she needs that, but whatever. It's just a little bit more damage, baby. Now the next one I think is one of the blessed ones, Furgus. Now, I had a video, I don't remember what video it was. I got Furgus and I kept getting him, and I was like, you know what, maybe it's this destiny for me to build him. Now they are going off. Look at these buffs, ladies and gentlemen. Most of the enemies with a giant sword with a 50% chance each to decrease speed for 2 turns, right? Then they gave him a buff, I think before, that now it decreases their combat readiness by 20%, right? Now it scales off of his health. Now the issue with Furgus that I had when I first was messing around with him, I actually had him like 5-star, and I was testing him out, is that he has to get hit a lot, but he doesn't have the HP for it. It's kind of similar to like Moonlight Ken. Like, it's kind of hard for him to like sustain damage because you have to like give him like a heal. You put him on lifesteal. It was fine because he had a counter built in, right? But it was just a little bit too rough, right? So now you can actually build him as an HP unit. Furgus, you can build him as an HP unit now. And now his S1 actually will deal a decent amount of damage as an HP unit that's tanking damage, lowering your speed and lowering your combat readiness every time he possibly gets hit. But they didn't stop there. Now his S2 passive is that his counterattack, if you guys didn't know, hits all enemies. So his S2 makes it that his counterattack is an AoE hit. So that's an AoE, decreased speed chance, 50% chance, AoE, decreased combat readiness, scaling off of his now max HP. But he also has a 15% chance to stun now when he counterattacks. Now 15% chance is very low. This is like making HP dizzy. It's just stupid. And he also has a base of 30% to counter. So you actually don't necessarily need to put counter on him. He has a chance to do it. But if you want to make it that it happens a little bit more often, and I did test this, I did have him on counter, and he countered a lot when he was on counter set. This makes it really, really crazy. And then it doesn't stop there. They take his S3 and give it a 50% chance to stun for 1 turn. So now you have Araminta that has it, but now you can just give it to Furgus. You can just throw Furgus in there, a 4-star unit that has a chance to stun, but guess what? Increases the effect chance by 100%, which actually, I guess that sort of makes sense. I would feel like it's just supposed to say to 100%, but I guess by 100% makes it 150, whatever. Because I know people have effective resistance, that's nuts, when they have less than 30% HP. And they also made it that this scales off of his max HP as well. Now, obviously, we'll have to figure out what those new scalings are, but regardless of how they are, a HP scaling unit to me is super safe. They'll deal decent amount of damage as long as, you know, the scaling is somewhat in their favor. And he's a stun bot, so his S1 counter is stunning. His S1 by itself will not stun, and it will not be AoE, but his S1 counter is a chance to stun, and his S3 is now a stun. So he is going to be locking people up like crazy, and this is regardless of whatever artifact he's on. So you could actually get him the Sigurd Scythe if you, I think Squidward Scythe. You can put that on him, and he can actually have an ability to kind of heal himself back up, which is kind of like how I would do it with my Ken. You can also give him like various other, we got to put a guide out on this, man. We have to eventually. There's so many characters to do because we're still on part 1 and we're 23 minutes into my recording. God bless me. All right, so next up is Arbonne, as we talked about with the summon, right? So So they're changing her S2, Flash of Light. Now is a 100% chance to land, the hit chance decrease, and inflict poison for 3 turns. And it also gives her defense. Also, the lovely little S3 here, which is super cool. I do like this, is that it's pretty much the same. The barrier is based off her defense, so it's good to S2, S3 if you get the chance, or just pop the S3 in the beginning if you need to. She also heals when she does it. Everyone gets a heal based off their max HP, but now she decreases the damage suffered by her allies by 10% when this skill is on cooldown. So the quicker you use it, maybe don't S2, S3, just S3 right in the beginning. I mean, she's relatively slow, but you S3 and then everyone's taking less damage. Awesome. I don't know how that's gonna work with Aureus. I don't think it says it here. It doesn't really say it here. She's obviously a tank, so she can run Aureus, so I don't know if that mitigates the damage that they take. I'm curious on how that works, if they're trying to make it that you don't need Aureus, so you can run her on Heilig Lance or something of that nature. Next up, Prosit. They are changing his S2 passive, that his can now, I don't know why they don't highlight this like the other ones, forgive me. He can only activate it once every turn now. Before it was once every 2 turns. So now this passive will be activating more frequently. I actually think Prosit, when he did get this first buff, was actually kind of nuts, because he gives defense and a barrier to an enemy once their health goes low. So as long as they're healing and stuff, it's kind of crazy, and you get a defense buff. Like, he gives you a defense and a barrier buff for free. And the barrier strength increases to that character's max HP. So let's say we have him and the boy new addition Furgus in the building, or any HP scaling character, and especially if they can heal themselves, they can keep going back and forth, and then he'll just keep giving them shields. Now the reason why they did this, I don't care what it says down here, but the reason why they did this is because of multiple allies that are getting hit. There's a lot of AoE in this game, so he'll protect one ally, and then possibly once the other one gets up, and he'll be able to protect them too. And then also, if the ally is getting healed, if they get hit again, then his passive will proc again. So this is a really good buff. Breakthrough, the S3 now is gonna have a 75% chance to provoke. Oh, CC. Poor Nat 5s, right? I think CC has a 100% chance max Molagora. So he's gonna have the ability to do that. Also, it decreases the combat readiness by 50%, which is all great, amazing things, obviously, because you lose pretty much half your turn there, 50%. And on top of that, you get provoked. So even when you do get the go, it's not going to be that good of a turn for you. You're going to use your S1 on a tank, and he can protect himself, if I'm not mistaken, with his own passive. So I actually know that because of, I always do the arena fight. So yes, it works on him as well. Next up, Keveza, which I don't know how she works. So I have to read a little bit more. So this is her S3. So now she's gonna get an extra turn after, which is really good. S3 and then do something positive with her life. Now she'll be able to S3 and then S1, and this will trigger the dual attack on her. So that is a pretty good change. Or she can then S2 if she needs to. Tati's also getting a little buff here, that her S2, which grants the invincibility, heals them when used on an ally except herself, decreases the target skill cooldown by 1 turn. That's pretty cool, like that. Also, the heal is off her max HP, which is really, really good as well. Oteli, who cares? I'll read it anyway. So instead of 20% less damage from AoEs, you now do 30% from AoEs, which is kind of cool. Also, our S3 is now going to have a silence. I still don't think anyone's going to use this character. Next up is Gunther, who is our last lovely person on part 1. He's going to get a change to his passive, so he can't crit, but he has a big attack increase, which would have been better if it was a damage increase. So that's going to stay the same, but he also increases his crit hit resistance, so he won't be crit in return. So I guess that's cool. So he has an S3, 1 turn stun, damage increase against bleeding enemies, which I think is S1 is a bleed, makes sure that he bleeds a lot or whatever. So now they're also going to stun, and then he's going to lose their defense by 2 turns, and it's getting a damage increase. Yeah, no one's using him, sorry. And now part 2. Part 2 is artifact adjustments. I was like, Justice for All, isn't that Charles? But seems like they are actually changing some of the artifacts as well. I don't remember them talking about this, but this is cool. So now Justice for All, which is Charles' old artifact, is for tanks. Is going to be getting the buff that they're receiving is now 2 turns, and this is obviously, I'm assuming this is at max, because it does not start at a 100% chance to grant. It's like a 50% chance at base. So be wary, guys, that they're showing these things at max. I feel like they should say that somewhere, just so you know people are understanding that these are max and that they're not changing it to 100%. Violet Talisman, I've actually sort of hated this one. So they're changing it they're switching the 3 and the 10s around, so it's still gonna end up as 30% pretty much. So yeah, 3% at the beginning of each turn, and in fact, at the 10 times resets at the beginning of the battle. Now instead it's 10% and only resets at the, so it's still 30%. It's just gonna happen a little bit quicker. Cool beans. Noble Oath as health decreases. This is up by 50%, going up to 100%. Really big buff there. So 2 tank artifacts getting buffed, and this is just a thief one. And Alexis, oh god. So now it is attack great. That's cool. And it's at the start of the turn, not the end of the turn. That was another terrible thing. It's like, so you went and then it goes and it's like, okay, I guess I have these buffs, and then now there's so many strippers out there that it didn't even matter, especially with Ayala's Violin. You know, Dizzy and other mages that are hitting AoE are just stripping the buff anyway. Now, not only is it attack greater, so now there's a bunch of thieves that are gonna have access to this attack greater, and on top of that, it's at the start of the turn, so you could Super Saiyan nuke someone. Still a little bit of RNG, but still whatever. Oh my god, they are increasing speed of the mage class. Woo! Oh, this is actually deep shit. So Tenebria is going to be at 110. Besar is going to be 108. Ludwig is at 112. Lulica 108. Mercedes 101. That's okay. Zerato 104, and then his ML 104. Cirilla going up to 106. Celestial Mercedes going 100. Like, all of them are definitely over 100 now, which you can see here, right? Guido Aether 107. Jeez. Challenger Domino, yeah, 101. They can't make her too fast. They have to make you invest to have her go first, which is fine. Who cares about Jenna? Who cares about Carmen Rose? Who's this 109? Misty Chain 109, funny enough. And then Gloomy Rain, which is I think that's the one that everyone actually likes to use as far as the other ones. Carmen Rose definitely died out. You don't see her anymore. She was like the beginning of the game hero. And here it is, by the way. I don't think I said it, but this is where they say that they would, you know, a new Moonlight Hero recall policy will be applied according to the Moonlight Hero balance adjustments. When a Moonlight Hero whose performance has been reduced due to balance adjustments are recalled, it is possible. I don't know if they're meaning that every time they nerf a Moonlight Hero that this will happen. Let me know what you guys think about all these little changes. Right now we're at 40 minutes. I'm gonna hopefully get that down by somewhat to half, but this video still might be like 30 minutes long or so. I do apologize. This is at the end of the video, so this apology doesn't make any sense, but thank you so much. If you stayed this long, I really do appreciate it. I love you forever. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm going to be doing videos at least every day as long as the free summons are there, and also just making sure that every little guide that I can put out, there's so many new characters that are getting switched, and there's new characters that are out. Vivian, I need to cover you, and a lot of other characters that are in the past as well. So without further ado, just remember that every day at the Kashino is your lucky day, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.